We will be performing passive range holds for hip flexion from the supine position. So the supine position is just simply laying on our back, so you'll be doing the exact same thing you would do from a standing position, but now this position allows us to be a little bit more in contact with the ground, so we don't have to fight gravity quite as much, so we can really focus on that hip flexion as much as possible. So you moved out of your pails and rails, you added a little bit more range of motion, and now we are going into the passive range holds, which really allows us to add strength, add control, and more complexity to that range of motion. So to set this position up, you're gonna be laying on your back. You'll be in the exact same position as if we were standing. So I'm gonna take my other leg straight, I'm gonna pull up into hip flexion as much as I possibly can. So I'm finding my passive end range of hip flexion. I take a big breath in, contract everything throughout the entire body, spill that contraction out to that hip flexor. I will then actively try to pull my knee up to my chest and remove the support of my hands and hold for the designated period of time, set right back down, find that end range again, hold for that designated period of time just in your recovery, breathe, set the contraction and hold, and then set right back down. So remember, with the passive range holds, we are finding your passive end range, and then we're gonna contract into your active end range. So we're always trying to close that gap between your active and your passive end range. The holds, we're just coming up, contract, spill that contraction out to that hip flexor, and try to hold up as high as you can for the designated period of time before you set the hand back down, reset, and then complete for the designated amount of reps. The amount of reps and the amount of time you hold will be dependent on your needs, your goals, your abilities, along with the program you're following and where you are in that program. But then again, it's only one zone of hip flexion, right? We can flex here, we can flex here, we can flex all the way out here. This is a whole zone of hip flexion. So you don't only want to train in one position, right? So depending on the program that you're following, what your needs and what your abilities are, you may be training out here, you may be training out here, you may do one set here, one set here, one set here. In one session, you may do them all here. Next session, you may do them all here, all here. It really depends on what you need and what the pails and rails are that you followed for that day. So if you did your pails and rails from out here, you'd most likely want to do your passive range holds from that position as well, because now, again, we're trying to add more strength, more control in the range of motion that we just opened up with our pails and rails. So you're gonna set that position up just like you would for the straight up into the chest, but maybe for today, we're out here, right? So I can use this elbow into the floor, making sure I'm getting as far out as I can without rolling open, right? I don't want this opposite side sit bone to leave the floor. Make sure I'm nice and flat on the ground. This hip will open up as much as I possibly can. I can have this elbow on the ground, pull up into my passive end range. Same thing, take a big breath in, full body contraction, actively contract that hip up and remove the passive support. Hold for the designated period of time, set right back down. From there, just reset, full body contraction, slowly remove that hand, hold, set right back down. So again, the amount of time you hold and the amount of reps that you do from those holds will be dependent on your program and how far along the program you are. But that is a supine hip flexion passive range hold.